We're gonna go over something I should have went over a long time ago. Okay, and that is this. Oh, I gotta show you. Mary Slessor. Okay, I've already done um, chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5, but I never did Mary Slessor chapter 1. So that's a problem, and I'm thinking I should solve it. Okay, Mary Slessor chapter 1. Right? Okay. Alright, well, let's solve this problem. So, what is Mary Slessor all about? Mary Slessor is actually a missionary. And she went to Calabar. Okay, first she was called to Calabar, and then eventually she was able to go there. And she made a huge impact, and she's a real person. Okay, so she went to Calabar. All right, but before we know all that, let's read the. Well, we kind of know because it's the first chapter. What do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be a firefighter, a police officer, a nurse, a doctor, something like really important, a lawyer, um, a missionary? Wow, that's one of the highest callings you could have is a missionary. Even though you could be a doctor or a lawyer or all these things, the highest thing is honestly a missionary. So here we go. What do you what do you want to be when you grow up? Okay. This week we're going to hear about a girl who wanted to do something really big for God. Every Sunday night. You know what? Every Sunday night. How you doing? Sam God YouTube. How you doing? Okay, so we're learning about Mary Slessor. Alright, let me show you. Mary Slessor. Alright, and this is all four of the these are different pictures and stuff. I don't have the pictures, so um, maybe I should get them someday. Every Sunday night in the 1850s, so this story takes place in the 1850s, a young girl named Mary Slessor sat shivering by the fireplace in her home in Dundee, Scotland, very cold place. Her her siblings were already asleep in another part of their small, dirty apartment. Exactly. It's a great story. But Mary and her mother were wanting, or were waiting, sorry. Uh, Hello, how you doing? What were they waiting for? Can you pretend to yawn like you're tired from late, stayed up late last night? Sometimes you don't have to pretend. So every every Saturday night they stayed up late, waiting for Mary's father to come home from work. Sometimes Mary and her mother would knit or mend worn out sweaters as they waited on their dad to come home. One other times they would pray together or read. One thing was the same every Saturday. Mr. Slessor would be late. The night wasn't any different. Mary and her mother were sitting in silence when suddenly the door flew open and an angry, drunk man stumbled in. It was Mary's father. He dropped one coin onto the table. I'm thinking he slammed that coin. Bah! Okay. And stared blankly at Mary's mother, right? At her mother. This is all he had left for his family. He spent the rest of the money he had made that week drinking alcohol and probably doing other things. Mary, neither Mary nor his mother was surprised. They didn't cry or say anything to Mary's father. Mary just looked at him, disappointed. Oh, that's it. They would go to another, uh, they would go another week in their cold, damp apartment without money to pay rent. Another week without money to buy food or clothes for her younger siblings. Mary shivered just thinking about it. In a drunken rage, her father threw the dinner they had so carefully saved for him into the fire. Even though Mary had done nothing wrong, her father slapped her and threw her outside, slamming the door and locking it behind her. She began to cry as she shivered in the freezing night air. Please let me in. Let me in, Mary cried as she pounded the door. Let me in, Mary cried as she pounded the door. Show me how your face would look if that had happened to you. Hmm. Yeah, like, I'm afraid, right? I would be afraid. So she began to cry as she shivered in the freezing night air. Okay. She curled up in a dark alley, shivering, crying, and waiting for the sun to come up. When dawn had arrived, Mary's father left for work. She watched him walk down the street toward the factory before she rushed inside and hugged her mother. All right. Mr. Slessor continued to use his money to buy alcohol instead of what the family needed. The Slessors sold all their furniture so they could buy food and clothing until the money had ran out. I wonder, let me show you the pictures of this slide. Let's see if they have like a thing at the end here. Come on. Here we go. It's like, it's not very good, but this is basically what it is. So he okay. So that's the first picture, yeah? And this is the summary of what this whole thing was all about. Okay. So okay. We will continue. Let's go to slide number 2, or the end of slide number 1. Mary's mother continued to pray and trust God to provide everything they needed. How you doing, Julia? When Mary was a little girl, she didn't always live her life to please God. She called herself a wild lassie, a girl, a wild girl, because she and her friends would sometimes get into trouble. An older lady saw Mary and her friends running around the streets. She knew they needed to know Jesus. One winter day, or one winter day, she invited them into her house and told them about God's punishment for sin. Mary realized that because of her sin, she deserved to be separated from God forever in a place of punishment. I just added that, but that's another thing. Mary decided that day to put all her trust in Jesus as the only one who could save her from sin. Mary began to love spending time with God by reading the Bible and praying. Turn to the person next to you and tell them something you think Mary read about in the Bible. So, I don't have any friends with next to me, but let me show you something. You think that she read in the book of John, right? Possibly. Or about Jesus being the good shepherd. I think so. Or about the shepherd knowing his sheep and all these different topics within the Bible. Okay. Yeah. Jesus was very real to Mary and she loved him with all her heart. Even though Mary's life was very difficult, she knew God was with her every day. Even when things were hard. One very hard time came when Mary was 11 years old. Her father was unable to keep a job because he drank so much. There was no more to provide money for her family. Mrs. Slessor went to work at the mill, but it still wasn't enough. Mary, Mrs. Slessor, didn't want Mary and her brother to have to go to work, but they had no choice. Mary would work for half a day and then go to school for the other half. Okay, so we have slide number 3 to go. All right. By the time Mary was 14 years old, she was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and helping her mother with housework. By 6, she was at the factory. For 12 hours, she ran a loom making fabric, even though Mary had to work all day. Now, instead of going to school, she loved to learn. Mary propped open a book by her workstation and read every spare moment. When the bell rang at 6 p.m., Mary returned home to help her mother cook and do more housework. Quick, let's pretend to help them do the chores like Mary did. Finally, she went to bed, only only to do it all over again the next morning. For a while, Mary's mother worked at the mill, but then she had another baby and couldn't work anymore. Oh man. Late Later, Mary's father died, and Mary was the only one providing for the family. Mary had one day off every week, Sunday. It was better. It wa- Sorry, it was her favorite day of the week because she wouldn't get to go to church, or yeah, she would get to go to church. Man, I don't know. I feel like I need to have a do-over. Hold on, let me just breathe a little bit. Okay, I've been stressing lately, you guys. No lie. Okay, because she would get to go to church. Often at church, she heard the missionary reports from faraway places like China, India, Japan. You know what? I think I'm gonna stop over here and we'll pick it up the next time. And a place called Calabar in West Africa. Can you whisper that to me 3 times? Calabar, Calabar, Calabar. Okay. Sorry. We'll go over the next slides. Uh, you know what? Fine. Let's just do it. Okay. The next one. Sometimes missionaries themselves came to visit. Uh, you know what? Hold on a second. I wonder if I could fix this. Flip. Okay. I want to start the video over because I want to try to do it the long format. So, and let me know if that works out well. Okay. So bear with me. Uh, yeah, because it's hard for me to read this kind of longer page. So give me a second. I'm gonna end the stream right now, and then I'll come back. So stick with me. Stay tuned. Bye.